The desert planet of Kaelthar was notorious among interstellar travelers for its lethal sandstorms and savage fauna. Few dared to land there, and fewer still returned with their sanity intact. Yet, for Captain Elias Vorn, a decorated human soldier, Kaelthar had become more than a strategic stop. It was a mission that would test his courage in ways no galactic conflict ever had. Elias had been part of a diplomatic convoy sent to the Carithian sector, home to a civilization of towering, bioluminescent beings. Their planet, a vast expanse of jagged dunes and crimson skies, hid secrets that many believed were better left undiscovered. But the mission was clear: establish contact, ensure peaceful coexistence, and protect human interests. On his second day in the arid capital, Elias was dispatched to survey the outskirts of the Carithian nesting grounds. The younglings of the alien species were considered precious, as their survival determined the colony's future. These young Carithians, despite their size, were incredibly fragile. Their protective shells were soft at birth, and even minor environmental hazards could prove fatal. Elias trudged through the crimson sands, scanning the horizon for any signs of life. His visor projected data on local fauna activity, temperature spikes, and radiation levels. Suddenly, his sensors detected rapid movement nearby. A young Carithian, no larger than a human child, had wandered into a nest of predatory Vexley beetles, known to tear through exoskeletons with alarming efficiency. Without hesitation, Elias sprinted toward the creature. His heart pounded as he dodged the massive pincers snapping inches from his legs. The sand underfoot shifted treacherously, and the blistering wind made visibility nearly zero. Yet, he pressed on, propelled by instinct and a deep sense of duty. Reaching the young Carithian, Elias scooped it into his arms just as a Vexley lunged. With precision, he fired a concentrated energy pulse from his sidearm, scattering the predators. The alien infant trembled in his grasp, emitting a faint, bioluminescent glow, a signal of fear and gratitude. Elias's body was coated in fine crimson dust, and his lungs burned, but the child was safe. It was then that the mother arrived. Nyara, a regal Carithian with luminescent tendrils and eyes that shimmered like molten silver, emerged from the dunes. Her presence was imposing, yet there was a vulnerability in her gaze as she surveyed her saved offspring. "You endangered yourself for a Carithian young," Nyara said, her voice a resonant melody that vibrated through Elias's chest. "Why would a human risk death for one of my kind?" Elias, still catching his breath, looked at her calmly. "Because some things, some lives, are worth saving. Doesn't matter what species they are." Nyara's tendrils twitched, a subtle display of emotion. Few humans had ever shown such fearlessness or compassion, and it intrigued her. "You are brave, human. Few of your kind would act without hesitation." Elias handed the youngling back, careful to ensure it was unharmed. The infant cooed softly, pressing against its mother's chest. Nyara knelt briefly to comfort it, her gaze never leaving Elias. "You will come to our city. There is much we must discuss." In the Carithian capital, a city carved from crystalline spires and glowing under twin suns, Elias was introduced to the council. They were cautious but respectful, their alien features unreadable. Nyara explained his actions, emphasizing the selflessness and courage he displayed. The council murmured among themselves, impressed by a human's willingness to risk life for the vulnerable. Over the following days, Elias found himself entangled in Carithian society. He learned their rituals, their code of honor, and the deep bond they shared with their young. Every action he took to protect or guide the younglings strengthened Nyara's regard for him. She watched as he helped the children navigate the treacherous dunes, as he endured the harsh climate without complaint, and as he faced each challenge with unwavering resolve. One afternoon, a massive storm swept across the city. The twin suns disappeared behind rolling clouds of red dust, and the wind tore at the crystalline towers. The younglings, unaccustomed to such extreme weather, panicked. Nyara's command efforts were swift, but one youngling became trapped atop a jagged spire. Elias didn't hesitate. Climbing the treacherous spire, fighting against the gale and stinging sands, he reached the terrified child. "I've got you," he shouted over the roar of the storm, his muscles straining as the structure threatened to crumble beneath him. With a final, desperate effort, he secured the youngling and rappelled down to safety. Nyara was waiting at the base, tendrils trembling as she took the child into her embrace. "You risk everything for them, human," she whispered, a rare note of awe in her voice. "And yet you do not falter." The council observed silently, and it became clear that Elias's bravery had won more than admiration. It had earned trust. Nyara approached him later, away from the eyes of the others. Her form glowed softly in the dimming light, and her gaze pierced through him. "Human," she said, "you have shown loyalty, courage, and compassion. These qualities are rare among your kind. My people respect you, and she paused, her voice softer now, almost intimate. "I wish for you to remain, not as a guest, but as my ally, perhaps more." Elias's heart skipped. In the vastness of space, he had fought countless battles, faced lethal threats, and navigated political intrigue, but never had he been confronted with an invitation so profound. "Nyara, he began, uncertain. "You saved what I hold most precious," she continued. "If your heart remains steadfast, I would have you by my side, not only to protect our young, but to walk with me into the future we can build together." The words resonated deeply. In that moment, the desolate dunes, the roaring storms, and the endless red horizon seemed to fade. All that mattered was the trust he had earned and the bond forming between two very different species. Elias knew the path ahead would be challenging. Interstellar politics, alien customs, and the constant threat of danger. But he also knew he would face it willingly, for the younglings, for Nyara, and for something profoundly rare, a connection that transcended worlds. As the twin suns reemerged, casting amber light across the city, Elias accepted her offer. The Carithian people, observing the union of courage and compassion, understood that humanity had found a place in their world, not just as allies, but as integral members of their society. In the days that followed, Elias trained with Carithian warriors, learned their language and customs, and took his place among them. Nyara remained close, her presence a constant reminder of trust, respect, and the fragile beginnings of something more. And in the younglings' laughter, in their safe exploration of the dunes, Elias found purpose beyond survival. He had not only risked his life, but had forged bonds that would echo across galaxies. The legend of Captain Elias Vorn spread through the sector, not just as a story of heroism, but as a testament to humanity's capacity for courage, empathy, and the unexpected power of an individual to change an entire world. Kaelthar's red sands whispered of a human who dared, a youngling who survived, and an alien queen who had found someone worthy, not merely of respect, but of her heart.